Okay, so let's go through this case study 3 where we have a ball bouncing, right? Okay, so imagine we have a ball drop from a height of 1 meter. So when I say drop means that I don't give it velocity. So the initial velocity will be 0 meter per second. Okay, so before I talk about the so-called motion, let's take a look at this velocity time graph of the motion of the bouncing ball. So if you look at this motion of bouncing ball, right, you notice that for the first 3 seconds, the velocity is actually increasing at a constant rate. So this is where I drop. So I took 3 seconds to reach the ground. Okay, then after that, at 3 seconds, right, you notice that my velocity decrease, like there's a spike like that, like a vertical line. So this is actually the difficult part about this kind of velocity time graph. So what is happening? Okay, so let's talk about the first part first. So at the start, you have a velocity of 0 meter per second. Then after at 1 second, your velocity is 10 meter per second. Then 2 seconds, 20. And last but not least, before you just hit the ground, your velocity is actually 30 meter per second. So at 3 seconds, you hit the ground. So the velocity, okay, so let me just draw the ball here. So when you hit the ground, right, you actually decrease in your velocity. So for example, you just hit the ground at 30 meter per second. After that, because of the ground, you will slowly decrease in speed, right? So you go to 20 meter per second. So as seen from this graph, at the same 3 seconds, you're actually 20 meter per second. Then after that, same 3 seconds, you 10 meter per second. So you will slowly decrease to 10 meter per second. Then after that, at the same 3 seconds, you will be 0 meter per second. But just take note, at 0 meter per second, you are still in touch with the ground. Then slowly, the velocity will gain speed, but in another direction. So that's why if you look at the graph, right, you go to the negative region already. So for this part of the graph is actually the so-called the ball is actually moving downwards. Then for the negative region, you're moving upwards already. So for at the same 3 seconds, right, your velocity is negative 10 meter per second. So what is going on? So you're actually gaining speed, right, in the opposite direction. So after that, you go to negative 20 meter per second. So 20 meter per second. After that, you will rise because you need some velocity to rise. So when you rise, you will move up. So you'll move up, then slowly, of course, you will decrease in your velocity until you reach 5 seconds. So at 5 seconds, you realize that your velocity is 0 meter per second. So 0 meter per second is where you reach the maximum point. So this will be time equal to 5 seconds. So your velocity, same thing, is 0 meter per second, but your acceleration in terms of magnitude wise is 10 meter per second squared. Okay, after that, after 5 seconds, right, you will drop. You will drop, so you will slowly increase in speed in the opposite direction. So that's why for this part, right, okay, for this particular part, you are moving down. So you will go at 6 seconds, you are 10 meter per second. And after that, at 7 seconds, you are 20 meter per second. So at this 7 seconds, right, you are 20 meter per second. Then after that, same thing, you hit the ground, the speed will slow down drastically, right? So the so-called the motion repeats again. Okay, so the next thing is, how do I know how to sketch the speed time graph? So just it's actually quite simple. So you just need to label 0. Then after that, 30 meter per second, right? Then let me label the 20 also. So 20 and 10. Okay, so let's sketch the first part of the graph. So the very first part will be same as your velocity time, just sketch straight line. Then after that, right, you decrease drastically. So you just need to draw like this, right? Okay, then next thing, you will rise at 20 meter per second. So 20 meter per second, you just label here. Then you decrease in speed, right? So this will be 5 seconds. So this is where you reach your maximum height already. Okay, next thing, you will increase in speed. So from 5 to 7 seconds, so 5 to 7 seconds, right, you will slowly increase in speed because you're actually moving downwards. So you increase in speed to 20 meter per second. So that is how you sketch the speed time graph.